What's good with YouTube? A conference perspective. It's your boy Flacco coming in with a little bit of energy. And I'm with my host, the big Senor Rojo. What's cracking, everyone, man? We got an interesting topic, man. We're going to be talking about the case Red October. A lot of you guys know about the details behind this case, but we're going to go into a little bit more and give our perspective of it.
All right, man. So courtesy of CBS, man, I'm gonna just break it down. I'm just gonna go right now. CBS wrote a real good article about it, man. 24 alleged associates of the statewide criminal gang Nuestra Familia were indicted in San Jose on March 4th on 34 felony counts following raids by law enforcement last October 30th in the South Bay and Modesto. This is according to Santa Clara County District Attorney's Office. The raids, dubbed Operation Red October, result in charges against 24 suspects and the seizure of cash, pounds of methamphetamines, guns, and coded kites, or gang orders written on bits of paper and placed in body cavities of jail inmates. Supervising Deputy District Attorney Marissa McKeown said. They were shocked, McKeown said of the gangsters, when the raids went down mostly in San Jose and in North Santa Clara County in Modesto, conducted by SWAT officers. It was a successful day out, she says. The FBI Santa Clara County Violent Gang Task Force ran the October 30th raid and used recorded phone calls and undercover purchases of methamphetamine to obtain the indictments against the 24 defendants, more than a dozen of them gang leaders, she says. The kite messages also seized in the raids are documents that law enforcement had not encountered, she said. The people in this indictment are on a level of sophistication and leadership, and with corroborating evidence that we have never seen before. The District Attorney's Office, the FBI, DEA, the California Highway Patrol, the Sheriff's Office, police from San Jose, Campbell, Santa Clara, Milpitas, Mountain View, and Gilroy, County Probation, state corrections officials, and the Regional Auto Theft Task Force took part of the investigation. Operation Red October, named after the Norteños' red gang colors and the month of the raid, came after investigators used information from an informant who was also a member of the gang and helped monitor gang members' phone calls and do the controlled drug buys. The informant who agreed to turn state's evidence is a convict currently in police custody in the Santa Clara County Jail, where his name has appeared on a hit list due to his assisting law enforcement. It's incredibly dangerous what he did, and he is in great danger. The 19 men and 5 women were indicted by a grand jury March 4th and charged with 34 felony crimes, from attempted murder to conspiracy to smuggle contraband into jail, and many face life in prison. Those indicted, including 6 people who are still at large, were San Jose's representatives of the Nuestra Familia, the head of the state's Norteño criminal gang that has operated from within California prisons for decades. What this represents is a very sophisticated network of high-ranking gang leadership out on the streets of our county. This is a very organized group. They've done it since the mid-1960s. Among those arrested and incarcerated in the county jail is 28-year-old Steve Peanut Barba, who was convicted last year of stabbing San Francisco 49ers player Aldon Smith in the chest at a party outside Smith's home near San Jose in 2012. The gang's incarcerated leaders ordered the state's Norteños to commit violent street crimes, from murders to assaults, robberies, burglaries, illegal drug sales, witness intimidation using kites at times smuggled in the rectums of gangsters who violate their parole in order to gain temporary entry to the county jail. They are literally using the bodies of their members as mules to run the gang. The messages, written in English and with micro lettering on tiny pieces of paper, sometimes use codes such as female names in place of specific men, and even the titles of popular films, according to prosecutors. On one note, could have said Cynthia tells Shirley to use Titanic, which meant to say that 2 gang members took part in a shooting together. Another kite threatened someone to do a removal, a term for murder, saying you are to conduct a removal within 2 to 3 weeks, and if you don't, you will face violence. Some kites also include orders from alleged top crime bosses of the gang, Antonio Chuco Guillen, who commands the criminal enterprise from within a secure facility at the Pelican Bay State Prison up north in Crescent City, where he's serving a life sentence for murder. Guillen is the highest ranking among 3 generals, all housed in Pelican Bay. He is the granddaddy of the Norteños in California, McCown said. The Nuestra Familia, based on evidence from captured kites, even has an internal code of conduct. In one case, a gang member who threatened a man in front of the man's wife and children was ordered by gang leaders to pay a fine. Aside from Barba, those indicted as a result of Operation Red October were Arlindo Gino Silva, Benjamin Big Happy Mendez, Carlos Roman, Casey Clower, Colleen Dunn, Daniel Milich, Diego Chucky Mendoza, Fidelfo Little Sav Ortiz, Frank Digit Cruz, Fred Matone Macias, Freddie De La Cruz, Herman Chongo Ciafuentes, Jacob Tank Dominguez, James Pistol Gonzalez, Jesus Yosh Varela, Juan Monster Garcia, Juanita Rivera, Carly Ochoa, Peter Payaso Avila, Raymond Oldies Garcia, Rodolfo Zeke Rodriguez, Sean Vernon Bam Bam Lee, and Sonia Giggles Rodriguez. Clower Dunn, Mendoza, Macias, Ochoa, Sonia Rodriguez all remain at large. The trial is set to start April 13th in Superior Court in Santa Clara. Last July 14th, months prior to the raid, Barber was sentenced for stabbing Smith to 3 years in prison and 3 years of parole, but avoided prison time due to credits he received for serving 560 days. He is now a three-striker, a person who can face a harsher sentence such as life in prison for committing a felony for the third time. And that wraps up their article, man. But
You know what I found quite interesting, that whole article,
uh,
is I know about half those dudes, right?
yeah,
And I don't know if things changed after I was no longer involved in the mix, but not one of those dudes that was mentioned was an NF member that I know of. Not one of them.
Yeah.
Thing. And number two, half those dudes, besides Carlos Roman, I knew Carlos Roman because he used to work with me. You know what I'm saying? Well, I mean, we used to work together. He worked with someone else, but I used to take him to do debt collections because that dude got major hands. Besides all that, all the other guys, they were like not really trying to function with the regiment. They would assist to a limited role. So I don't know what changed like years later, but back then, I mean, I grew up with a lot of those guys, and they weren't out there handling their business, man. So I'm trying to figure out what things have changed as far as within the regimental activities, man. I think that's when they started to basically put a lot of more taxation on the hoods out there, man. You know what I'm saying? From my understanding is now each hood has a set quota that they have to contribute every month. You know what I'm saying?
Like we were talking about the other day too, bro, is in our time when we were bros, it wasn't mandatory to participate in the streets. The only time it became mandatory is if you volunteered your services. Like if somebody says, hey, you want to function when you get out, and you say, yeah, well then, yeah, now you are obligated to do whatever they ask you. But back then, back in the early, mid, all the way into the late 90s, a bro didn't have to function on the streets if he didn't want. He only was committed behind the walls.
That's the thing, bro. Most of those names you mentioned, none of them were even bros. You know what I'm saying?
So
most of them,
now they want everybody to kick in.
You know, if you give any type of assistance, they're going to have an expectation nowadays. They're lacking in manpower, man. And I mean, a lot of those dudes, they were good dudes. Some of them were money makers. Some of them were with the business. You know what I mean? It just goes to show that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I think that one, in that case, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. Someone correct me, but I think they were targeting people that were from certain hoods that were assisting the regiment. You know what I'm saying? I think Moss Locals was one of the main hoods that got affected by that one, and a couple other hoods. But you know how it is. There's always going to be those where there's a void. You know what I'm saying? Where there's a vacuum effect, you're always going to have someone trying to fill that void. So some people back then, they may have not want to get involved because they couldn't ascend to a position to where, like I said, this is all fueled by ego. You know what I'm saying? Power. So if you're going to be at the low totem pole, a lot of people are going to be hesitant to be involved. And so if there's a lack of manpower out there and you can ascend to some type of authority figure role out there and reap the benefits, you're going to have a lot more people who are trying to get involved. I mean, that's the first thing I caught up with that case is the only person I know that was really assisting, that was functioning with the regiment, like I said, was Carlos Roman back then, man. But even back then, I mean, he was doing a lot of things with Lencho though, back then, man. But he would also assist a lot of, like he would assist me at times, man. I did a lot of business transactions, man. But all those other dudes, they played a limited role. Some of them would cop dope from the regiment, but they weren't contributing. They weren't on the books. They weren't part of no crews. They weren't part of no squads. And so the first thing I'm thinking is like, why are they involved now? You know what I'm saying? Because back then, when they were trying to be recruited to assist or even function, a lot of them were hesitant and took a back seat. So I'm wondering what type of role now is the NF having out there on the streets? What type of influence and impact are they having that now those people, I know that many, like I said, many of those people, they're not even bros, you know what I'm saying, that are now functioning. Maybe their status has changed later on, but I know a couple of them, because a couple of them I actually got at and asked them if they wanted to become an NR member back then. And a lot of them declined. A couple of them I got at if they wanted to function and work with the regiment. They declined. They said they would assist to a certain level. They would cop D from us. They would plug us in with their resources, but they did not want to have that obligation of working with a regiment. And this is exactly the reason why, because these are the consequences of this lifestyle, man. You know what I'm saying? It's never, no matter what, you can sit there and look, every couple of years, there's always going to be some type of indictment. There's always going to be some type of betrayal, corruption, and people are going to do what they have to do for their best interest, man. A lot of people get the bad end of the sticks. Some people are cowards, you know what I mean? And do it because they're scared. Other people have an axe to grind, you know what I'm saying? But when you're dealing with the streets and the streets politics, the streets are cutthroat. You know what I'm saying? There's no loyalty in the streets. There's no honor. There's no integrity. People are going to do what's best for them, period.
No doubt.
Experience that, especially if you're involved in the magnitude of working with a regiment. And as always, it's always people that are lower on the totem pole that are going to be more affected by that. You know what I'm saying? Therefore, you have these consequences where people are getting indicted. It's not just San Jose that's getting indicted all the time. You can go back to Modesto, Stockton, Sakura. Every time anybody comes out there and establishes a regiment out there, a few years later, someone's getting hemmed up. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure in the next few months, we'll probably see a whole new indictment in some other areas. It just keeps on happening.
Yeah.
And this is the message for the youngsters, man, out there. People who still want to be in the mix. This is the reality of this lifestyle, especially with all these gang injunctions and enhancements and RICO acts. I mean, you could just be passing a message and get indicted. You could just be holding dope or some weapons and get indicted. You know what I mean? They were using filters and rosters of people catching on paper in new indictments in San Jose. They were getting them for gang enhancements based upon just having a filter, bro. You know what I mean? Santa Clara County, where they were basically, how do you say it? They set the precedent, if you get what I'm saying,
Yeah.
Using these tactics. So now no matter what you do, you know what I'm saying, they're going to find ways to give you enhancements. They're going to find ways to indict you to where if you're just a regular dude trying to get your hustle on, make your money, you know what I'm saying? But if you're associated with these people over here, and anybody gets caught up, whether you were a functioning regiment crew member, assisting or whatnot, you have a good chance of being indicted, man.
Yeah, no doubt, man. A lot of people don't realize, man, if you, as simple as taking a filter, making a three-way call, relaying a message, if they can prove you did that and that gang used any of that things to plan any kind of crime, you just aided and abetted a street crime. Straight up. That's all it takes. You call me from county jail back when we could do the three-ways before all the cell phones. I call somebody else. Guess what? I just furthered a street gang by assisting in doing that. You know what I'm saying? And if something happened as a result of that phone call, I'm just as guilty as you. That's how easy it is.
I mean, a prime example for the listeners. I mean, listen to this indictment that's being read. There's female names. No female member could ever be part of a regiment, period. You can't be counted on the books. You can't be part of a crew. You can't hold no position, but yet you can still get indicted. Be in that safe house, communicating those messages. You know what I'm saying? And so that just goes to show for the listeners, if you have any type of interaction with anybody that's involved in these type of activities, these are the potential consequences you can have. You may think that you're smarter than everybody else. You can shelter yourself, man, and you
everybody thinks they're smarter.
But when you're looking at 20 years, 25 years for, you know what I'm saying, hold on to a couple ounces of dope at your house. You know what I'm saying? You gotta
how many people from our little history do you know that retired as millionaires and bought that island? And you know what I mean? Like real
I mean, there's only, look at it though. How many are still active though?
Yeah, just from our time? Fuck, 30? There's only 30 left from when I got pulled.
You know,
If that.
man.
Everybody's like, you guys are dropouts. You're pieces of shit. Man, from the time from when I got pulled, there's probably 20 left, bro. And that's on the high side.
That's true, bro. Yeah, I mean, think about it. I mean,
So you're a little active guy on the streets, you came and did a little term on a 1 yard and you ain't never had to do anything or be a part of anything. It's real easy to be like, oh, you guys fell off. You never fell in. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't try to walk in other people's shoes, man. Because when you get to them positions that we have been to, and they come knocking on your door, because they will. How often do they come now? Once every 2 years or some indictments?
yeah.
See how long you last.
Yeah, it's the same one that's saying, "Oh, I'll never see people. I'd never do this. I'd never do that." You didn't put in those shoes yet, man. You all over here at the keyboard.
Hey, and all the people that are still left, they already had life.
No, that goes back. Hey, I brought that up one time, man.
If I had life, I'd still be active. I'd be somewhere running some prison right now.
Exactly, because if you're doing life, all those dudes that are doing life, there's nothing that they can share or do that's going to help them get out.
Yeah.
But when you get these guys who get caught up with a quarter ounce or a gun or this and that, man, you know what I'm saying, that are looking at life, you're going to tell me that some of these dudes that are doing life, that they're really going to worry about their word if they're given action to go home?
Yeah.
A lot of those dudes may change the story real quick.
Yeah, that shit's crazy, man. Yeah, I that's why I find it funny with people in the comments, oh, you're a DO this or whatever. Like, so be it, bro. You know what I mean? That's if you walked in the same shoes that I walked in, you wouldn't have lasted as long as I did. I promise you.
Yeah, I see that all the time, man.
Yeah, you kids ain't cut out for it these days. You guys can't. You got shit, man. You guys can't follow directions and take orders and stuff like that. They'd have a nervous breakdown if they hit the 6 yard back in the 90s, man.
Then the ones that do, right, that they have their blindfolds on, right? Once they get too far in, they're gonna, when their blindfolds open up, they're gonna be like, "Damn, I was using this. This is nothing what I thought it was."
Now you see, now you know you done fucked up, right? Now you know you done fucked up, right? That's what they're gonna be telling themselves, like, God damn, I made a horrible error in judgment.
And that ego's gonna keep them going on. That's why with all this stuff, man, if you put the ego to the side and you really look at things for what they are, you know what I'm saying? Shit is shit.
Yeah.
It's a cesspool of bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a whole lot easier to move in silence with your own, take care of your own family, doing your thing, as opposed to, like I said, it's all by ego, man. People like that recognition. I'm with the regiment. You know what I mean? Little they know, man, that they're nobody, just having to pay a monthly every month. That's all.
Hey, little do they know, there's some little nerdy ass FBI DEA motherfucker down the street with some binoculars like this. Oh, he just put a gun in the trunk. You know what I'm saying? Like, real talk.
Yeah, man. Well, hey,
all that shit, bro.
What do you think about this article, man? How they had to emphasize on Alden Smith about that stabbing, man? I thought that was kind of interesting too, man.
Yeah, I remember when that happened, man. This whole time I thought it was Charles Oak, though. I forgot that there was two Peanuts. Yeah, I'd heard about that when it happened, and it had said Peanut had stabbed. Because Alden Smith's kind of a character too. He's always getting in trouble, and he's always, whatever. But they would probably emphasize that because that name would ring a bell and people would remember, just because he's a famous, all-star level football player from the Bay Area. Now they'll be like, oh, they stabbed him, just drama,
Yeah, it's pretty messed up when they're telling you, hey, you got to catch a parole violation, take these kites in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're giving your life and freedom over to some other man that's giving you a directive to catch time to go in there to bring these wheelas. You know what I'm saying?
How about why don't you guys just get some hustle and get one of them cops to bring you a cell phone? You know what I'm saying? You ever heard of Wicker? Shit.
Oh yeah, they know about that Wicker, bro.
Man. But you know what I mean though? Like, I could never with a straight face try to tell one of the little homies that you got to go get in trouble and put these in your butt. I would never do that. It's not happening.
Yeah,
You gotta
then
figure something else out
think you're someone on the streets function with the regiment.
until you get something stuffed up your butt and have to go fucking shoplift.
You're gonna get to the county jail. You're gonna find that you're gonna fall and file like you're nothing.
Yeah, here you
Okay.
go. Hey, what's my tier name? Duffel bag. Hey, for real though, man. Oh, dude. I'm gonna do this for the big homies. All right, bro.
Yeah. I'm gonna burn them brown spokes out for you guys, man. I'm doing it for the cause, bro. You know what I mean? Man,
Shit.
does that, man.
All right, man. Well, shit. I guess that about covers it, brother.
Yeah, that's about it, man. It's an interesting case, man. But it's, it's just for the viewers out there, man. Just think about it, man. Out there, if you stuck in that lifestyle, man, just think about your choices, man. Just think about the consequences. Is it really worth it?
One last thing. I was just reading a case a little while ago about my old celly, Juan Gallegos, Wino from Salinas. He got broke off a bunch of time in Valley Star. One of his charges was using a cell phone in a conspiracy to pass information that benefited the gang. Look up how long that charge carries, you guys. Look it up. I don't even want to tell you. Just for using a cell phone to talk about gang shit. All right, man. All right, you two. It's your boy Rojo. I'm out of here.